For pretty much as long as humanity has been around, legends and myths of cryptids, or mythical animals, have always existed. For any of those unaware of what a cryptid is, it's defined as an animal, such as the Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster, that has been claimed to exist but never proven to exist. Cryptozoology as a topic has become very prominent online and on YouTube in recent years, with people making documentaries and iceberg charts of all sorts of stuff covering the history and possible existence of certain cryptids around the world. But cryptids aren't just exclusive to the real-world mythology, they're also present in video games. And like a lot of them. Ever since the early days of gaming, players have been coming up with mythical creatures that they believe roam the digital landscapes of games they play, from the legendary Herobrine in Minecraft to the mysterious Hell Valley Sky Trees of Mario Galaxy. These mysterious entities have been floating around in the minds of gamers for quite a while at this point. Now, a lot of these cryptids come from one certain game franchise, which is Grand Theft Auto. This really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, to be honest, because, you know, the GTA games are expansive open worlds with meticulous detail in literally everything, especially the environment. And because of that, over the years, dozens, if not hundreds of cryptids became prevalent in the game's community. From the infamous Bigfoot to the really weird and obscure swamp monsters, today we'll be taking a look into these mysterious urban legends in the latest installment of the GTA franchise, i.e. still GTA 5. So if you like hearing about fictional creatures, then enjoy this video and consider subscribing or leaving a like if you like it. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin. Wait, actually, hold up. I kinda jumped the gun. Before we begin, I'll quickly explain how this video is gonna be structured. Basically, this is gonna be kind of like an iceberg chart, but instead of going from most well-known to most obscure, we'll go from the most tame to the most insane cryptids that have been rumored to exist in GTA 5, and in our case, a cryptid being insane means that it is rumored to have some immensely powerful supernatural abilities, or it exists as a great threat to the world. Essentially, it's kind of like SCPs, from the safest to the most dangerous or bizarre. So with all of that out of the way, let's finally begin with the classic Bigfoot. Bigfoot is probably the most tame cryptid on this list by far. I mean, it's Bigfoot. Everyone knows who Bigfoot is. In real life, the ape-like forest dweller said to inhabit the North American wilderness was first reported in the mid-20th century, with the most popular sighting of the beast, of course, being the infamous Patterson-Gimlin film, which supposedly depicts a female Sasquatch wandering northern California. Now, ancient cave paintings found in North America have been found that seem to depict large-looking beings that kind of look like big apes, meaning that the existence of Bigfoot has been a possibility for basically as long as humans have existed. Similarly, in the GTA community, rumors of Bigfoot existing in the GTA world have been around since GTA San Andreas in 2004, which was literally their second 3D game. Pretty much the dawn of GTA's existence. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that players were just absolutely obsessed with the idea of finding Bigfoot wandering somewhere in the many rural regions of San Andreas. Most reported sightings occurred somewhere around the Baco Beyond region, as well as the Mount Chiliad wilderness. Those claiming to have seen Bigfoot usually described him as aggressive and claimed that he essentially looked the same way that you would imagine. There were countless images shared around on forums, and most were just of Bigfoot standing in a foggy forest. This theory originally seemed pretty solid, considering that Bigfoot is a hugely popular myth, and many forested regions of San Andreas would be perfect locations for Rockstar to hide some Easter eggs. I mean, look at this place. The fog, the amount of trees, the absolute silence, and the eeriness, it's just perfect. This really did seem like the type of place where you would hide an Easter egg like this, especially one as well known as Bigfoot. There were even footprint-shaped rock formations around in forests. But this rumor was really solidified in the GTA 5 mission called Predator. Keep in mind, GTA 5 is set in the state of San Andreas, although in a different universe, but there are some connections, such as Mount Chiliad, Grove Street, etc. Even Maze Bank. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. In the mission Predator, you use a thermal scope sniper, and you can see a heat signature that looked like Bigfoot, and after staring at it for just like a couple seconds, like any good creepy Easter egg, it disappears. But Bigfoot is very prevalent in GTA 5, with the beast appearing on the seal of the city of Los Santos, as well as appearing in paintings that you can buy in GTA Online. But unfortunately, all of these supposed appearances and photos were eventually proven to be false. The GTA mission sighting, for example, instantly falls apart when you encounter a guy impersonating Bigfoot in a Strangers and Freaks mission called The Last One. Now, of course, you could argue that a human wouldn't be able to just disappear on heat vision, but I digress. Maybe he hid in front of a rock, I don't know. You may also be thinking, that's fine, the GTA 5 Bigfoot never existed, but we still have tons of photos of Bigfoot from GTA San Andreas, right? And we do have those photos, but they're not actually real. They were all proven to be either modded or photoshopped, and the low poly count and general crappy graphics of GTA San Andreas made a low poly model of Bigfoot that anyone could probably download right off the internet fit right in. Also, the overwhelming amount of fog and trees in the region made it easier to obstruct him or mask the model further. Due to this and an overall lack of solid proof, the theory was revealed to be false. Nevertheless, Bigfoot remains a hotly debated topic among the GTA community, with many still sticking to the original theory. Well, now with all the backstory out of the way and all of the in-game theories out of the way, let's get to the rating. So we're going to be sticking to the GTA 5 theme and giving him some amount of stars out of 5. And I think Bigfoot gets 1 star. We decided on 1 star because, I mean, he's just kind of boring. It's just an animal, and one that isn't even really all that special. Doesn't have any powers, it's just a big monkey. Bigfoot is also just really oversaturated in the media, with whole shows and games dedicated to him, so we didn't really want to put him too high because everybody knows about him, and I think everybody's bored of him. Now, we're still gonna be pretty high up on the list for this next one, well, high up on the iceberg, so this is gonna be another pretty tame cryptid, but not boring. I would say this one's actually more interesting than Bigfoot because it's really weird. It's the golden retriever that appears in the 2 separate Strangers and Freaks missions that Franklin can do for Dom Beasley. The dog first appears in the mission Risk Assessment, where it calls out to Franklin. Anyways, after following the dog, Franklin finds Dom Beasley, a daredevil who, after an unsuccessful landing with a parachute, had wound up stuck in a tree. Franklin rescues Dom and mentions the dog, telling the daredevil that he should be grateful for it leading Franklin to him. But Dom is just completely confused and brushes off Franklin's comment. The dog then mysteriously disappears, leaving Franklin completely astounded. Now, this same dog once again appears in the final Dom mission, Uncalculated Risk, where the dog warns Franklin that Dom is about to kill himself while performing yet another stunt. Keep in mind, up until now, only Franklin has ever seen this dog, and only twice. Anytime that Franklin's brought this up, even in the helicopter, yes, I sat through the cutscene, and anytime that the dog is brought up, I mean, Dom just acts confused because he's apparently never seen it. Anyways, in the last mission, the dog also says that it really couldn't give a shit about Dom, but it's obligated to inform Franklin, as he, the dog, was made this way. Finally, the dog directs Franklin to Dom and then leaves forever, as he was casted to play a role in some movie. This then leaves the player, as well as Franklin, utterly confused. Now that just leaves us with one simple question. What? And honestly, this really is the best way to put that question because there's so much weirdness to do with this. Now, the most popular theory is that this dog is Dom's guardian angel or spirit animal. This can be evidenced by the fact that the dog possesses supernatural powers, such as being able to disappear and appear at any time, anywhere. This dog also tells Franklin that he was made this way, being obligated to try and get Dom out of harm's way. Curiously, after the dog quits his job of being Dom's guardian angel and goes off to star in a movie, Dom brutally dies after attempting a base jump at the dam. Now, this dog is a golden retriever, a breed that is known as a symbol of compassion and care as well as confidence. This makes sense because the dog was made to care and protect Dom, who dies as soon as the dog leaves him. That's about all you need to know about the actual lore or backstory behind this dog, and so I think we're on to the rating system now. I think we're gonna give this dog a 2-star wanted level because even though it's just some random dog, it clearly has powers that let it see into the future as well as teleport and speak to humans, probably telepathically, no idea. Anyways, the existence of this dog and the concept of guardian angels being real in the GTA universe also opens up a massive amount of possibilities for other supernatural beings in the canon, which could show up later on down the line. Okay, with this next one, we're kind of going to be diving off the deep end, and we're actually going to be getting into some of the more interesting and more dangerous cryptids. But first, we have to cover a large area which is called the Tongue of a Triangle. The Tongue of a Triangle covers a large area that reaches from Chumash at its westernmost point to Vinewood Hills at its easternmost and all the way to Mount Josiah at its northernmost. The middle of this triangle is home to the Tongue of a Hills and Tongue of a Valley. Now, rumor has it that there are quite a few cryptids dwelling within this area. These cryptids include the Tongue of a Hills creature, the Swamp Monster, and the Goat Man. We'll begin by covering the Tongue of a Hills creature because, Tongue of a Hills creature, why not, right? Anyways, this creature can supposedly be found between the Tongue of a Hills Valley and Chumash, kind of near Marlow Vineyards. It's said that the creature roams the area on stormy nights, using the night as cover to stalk its prey, which often ends up being the unfortunate migrant workers from the nearby vineyard and local wildlife. Now, you might be wondering, where the hell would a creature like this come from? Something doesn't just exist like this, and there is actually an interesting theory that could help explain this. Essentially, the theory goes that this creature could be the result of experimentation at the Humane Labs facility, which has been shown to be doing experiments into animal gene manipulation. Although, if this were to be true, the location would make little to no sense, as the Humane Labs facility is located on literally the opposite side of the island. And making a trek like that without being spotted by any containment teams would be close to impossible, although this location does still make some amount of sense for it to gravitate towards. Now, this is due to the abundance of empty hills and wildlife to feed on. The general area of the Tongva Hills and Valley also has a number of small streams and caves in which it could take shelter, but this whole myth unfortunately has very little of substance in the form of supporting evidence, or even as little as sightings. The biggest piece of evidence was that migrant workers who worked at the nearby vineyard could often be found dead in seemingly random locations around the vineyard, which, to be fair, would be a very convincing piece of evidence. I mean, this seems like the type of area where some kind of creature would tend to hide and attack at. The tall grass, the streams, the general large empty area. It's kinda like the perfect location. But the problem is that the workers being dead isn't at all to do with any creature. They don't even have really, any teeth marks on them, anything at all. They're not bleeding. It's just because they glitch out when they spawn. That's all it is. It's honestly really underwhelming, but apparently the NPCs would sometimes spawn with their legs clipped ever so slightly into the ground, which caused them to instantly ragdoll just like a Skyrim NPC, and die. Due to this fact, although this area provides great cover, and it's a logical reason as to why a creature like this may even exist here, the lack of evidence just disproves this whole myth. To put this into perspective, not even the wiki, which often has at least some kind of image of the creature, whether it be modded or not, or just, an artist's rendition, it has no image of the Tongva Hills creature. Nothing, just a question mark. Considering how dangerous a creature like this would be, look at how quickly I got killed by a cougar. You know how quickly a Tongva Hills creature, whatever it may be, would probably kill me, and the potential backstory relating back to Humane Labs, we have got to give this thing like a 3 out of 5 at least. Because although this creature may not have much evidence for it, the thought's there. Just think about that next time you're exploring that area, that eerie, empty place on a stormy night. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But unfortunately, this trend of actually scary and well thought out animals is pretty much going to die right now. Because next up is the Swamp Monster. This creature is thought to live in the swamps surrounding Fort Zancudo. This cryptid is said to be very aggressive, with it stalking the player through the shrubbery of the swamp and killing the player if they're unfortunate enough to look at the monster. Now, we haven't shown you an image, because the first time I saw this image, me and Melon, who was on call with me while we were writing this video, we absolutely lost it. Just keep that in mind. This is the only image that exists. Very compelling, to say the least. This cryptid is very similar. It's literally the exact same image as the old creepypasta, The Rake, which featured a creature that moved on all fours and would kill people in forests and swamps. Sound similar? Now, the swamp monster in GTA is also said to be a quadruped, and, as should be obvious by the name, it roams the swamps. And unlike the Tongva Hills creature, potential, although very poor images of the swamp monster have appeared on the internet. Images like this, where you can clearly see some sort of entities through the player's thermal scope. Unfortunately, due to the angle of this image, we can't actually really identify any of its properties, but luckily we don't need to. This image, as well as many others that feature some sort of weird disfigured creature in the swamps of Lago Zancudo, are actually deer that are performing the animations of a soldier. Hear me out on this one. So this image we showed you previously is actually just that of a deer doing a sit-up or push-up, which, although that is certainly weird, a built deer isn't really the weirdest thing ever. It's not the swamp monster we're looking for either, and so sadly we're probably never gonna find the swamp monster, as this cryptid is obviously just a reference to the Rake. And it doesn't even have a cool backstory like the Tongva Hills creature. It's just there, it just exists. And overall, it's just kind of boring. Now, I would give this a 2.5, I would break the rule and give it a 2.5 stars. But then I remembered the image, and well, let's just say that fantastic artist's depiction, we'll call it, that knocks it down to a 2 out of 5 stars. Finally, the last section in the Tongva Hills Triangle will be the Goatman and the Panic in the Woods, and this is definitely probably the most interesting and most plausible cryptid or phenomenon that we have covered in this section. Now, the Goatman itself is a half-goat, half-human cryptid which inhabits the area near Cape Catfish. You've all heard it before, but the Goatman is also said to be approximately the height of a regular person and covered in hair, with 2 massive goat horns protruding from its head. Any encounters have ended with the Goatman supposedly running under the bridge and hiding, and its behavior is therefore currently unknown due to its extremely apprehensive nature. But the Goatman is actually very different in-game to any real-life depictions of the Goatman. For example, the Goatman of Maryland, which is the most well-known depiction of Goatman that I could find, uses a hatchet to kill its victims and is extremely aggressive. It's more similar to the Goatman of Texas, which is said to live under a bridge and harass passerbys by throwing stones from under the bridge. It's also depicted as having goat legs on a human upper torso, whereas the GTA Goatman is fully covered in fur and has goat horns on his head. It's also, as you've probably noticed, far more timid, which is pretty weird for a creature based off of the infamously dangerous Goatman. Like, I guess I'll put it this way. Highest step is the Maryland Goatman, kills people with hatchets. Step down, Texas, throws stones at people. This one just runs away and hides under a bridge. Seems more like an original creation than some kind of reference like the last one, but still, just something to keep in mind. Actually, speaking of it being an original creation, let me just point out that its location is very close to humane labs, and due to the amount of secrecy and high-level genome manipulation testing, it's not too far of a stretch to think that the Goatman may have been a failed experiment of theirs who escaped and took up shelter under a bridge nearby. Now you might be thinking, how the hell is Goatman, who resides near Cape Catfish, relevant with the tongue of a triangle, which is on the literal opposite side of the map? And this is due to a phenomenon called panic in the woods, where if you enter the woods at night and you get really unlucky, you may start to hear a low buzzing sound and lose health until you either see another NPC or reach civilization or you die. This phenomenon can be experienced in the many forests and hills of GTA, one of which is the Tongava Hills. And this is based off of a real life phenomenon where some people who are deep in the woods may start to have a panic attack due to the immense isolation and start running frantically until they reach society, in fear of dying if they don't reach civilization in time. Now this is very similar as to what happens in GTA. You supposedly start hearing a low buzzing, which can be assumed means you're losing your mind, and then your health starts rapidly dropping until you reach civilization, which is most likely related to you losing your sanity and getting closer to a full-blown panic attack. Now, although panic in the woods may just be seen as people being scared of being alone in the woods, this does sometimes happen in groups of people, which should make absolutely no sense, right? Well, this led some people to believing that the Greek god Pan, who controls essentially all of nature, and I'm talking lakes, forests, valleys, etc., may be doing this for some reason. Some say it's to defend his land, some say it's that mortals can't stand near such a powerful god without going insane, which has quite a few parallels with the Cthulhu mythos. Now, although we don't actually know why this is happening, there are some theories, and we'll get into that a bit later, but the connection to Goatman comes along due to the fact that Pan is usually depicted as this. Looks pretty familiar, huh? And also, one of the areas where panic in the woods occurs is where Goatman can be found, and the rest are similar mountainous or forested environments. Now, the most logical real-life explanation for panic in the woods stems from an old evolutionary trait that we picked up very long ago. Essentially, if you're in a forest in a small group, or especially alone, and you hear absolutely no noise, no animals, no cars, no wind, no nothing really, that this triggers some kind of fight or flight response due to the belief that a predator may be lurking nearby. Kind of like, you know, the calm before the storm. No noise, attack. Which kind of causes animals and your fellow brethren to leave this area, leaving it quiet and desolate. And this is when panic starts to set in, as the silence of the forest can be explained by something on the prowl. People who have experienced this have claimed to feel watched or like they were in danger, which is exactly what a fight or flight response would feel like. Anyways, quick detour. I thought this was funny, like the whole panic in the woods thing, and I like panicking, and I like woods. So me and Melon got on call, and I went out into the woods behind my house. Took some pictures, brought a flashlight. Pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. But I did not, in fact, unfortunately, panic in the woods. Very sad, truly. I kinda wish I did. Would've been fun. Anyways, due to the unsettling nature of this phenomenon, and the equally mysterious Goatman who may have a connection to it, and the creepy woods behind my house, we give the Goatman a 4 out of 5 star wanted level, because considering how aggressive the real-life mythical creature is said to be, I doubt that the GTA Goatman is actually as passive as he seems. Panic in the Woods will be getting... I mean, no, it would be getting a 4 out of 5 as well, but that just feels too low considering how creepy and sudden the supposed mechanics of the Panic in the Woods are. So let's just say 4+ out of 5. That definitely won't ruin continuity later on. Now that our Tongue of a Triangle mini section is finally over, we want to give the Tongue of a Triangle itself around a 3+ out of 5. I would give it a 3 out of 5, but the Goatman and Panic in the Woods are really cool, but they're not exclusive just to that area, so the Tongue of a Triangle itself gets a 3 out of 5. Well, now that we're finally out of the Tongue of a Triangle mini section, we can move on to the Palomino Highlands creature. This creature is described as a dog-like creature which closely resembles another hybrid called the Jackal, except while the Jackal allegedly inhabits the Grand Sonora Desert and the San Chilinsky mountain range, The Palomino Highlands creature inhabits the areas in and around, you guessed it, the Palomino mountain range and the Murrieta oil fields. Now unfortunately there's no known images of this creature, and even if you tried to use the jackal for reference, the best alleged image is this. Not really the most revealing image in my opinion, but it'll work. But this kind of goes to show you how little is known about these creatures. The only things that are supposedly known about the Palomino Highlands creature is that any encounters with it are similar to that of a cougar or mountain lion encounter. And it's apparently very aggressive and uses the high grass and steep mountains as cover. Now apparently, I actually didn't know this, but the Palomino Highlands aren't just a massive, steep mountain range at the edge of the map that just end in a drop-off. There's actually a weird basin-like area where it could actually inhabit. Now the main reason that the existence of this creature is so hard to prove or disprove is due to the black and white death screen high grass and the fact that any encounters with it end up getting you killed before you can get a good look at it. Much like a cougar or a mountain lion, which I actually got killed by while trying to investigate the, Tongava Hills creature. Yeah, that's the one. I got massacred by a cougar literally like the moment I stepped out of my car. It's also really hard, as we mentioned earlier, to differentiate from a cougar or whatnot, because as far as we know, it doesn't really have that many defining features. Even the jackal supposedly has glowing red eyes and makes demonic grunting sounds. And I mean, it even spawns in an area where lions or cougars are very rarely seen, which should make it much easier to spot. But yeah, this still is the only apparently real picture of it. So to the Palomino Highlands creature, considering that it's in the hills with lions and cougars and high grass, and it has no defining features, it's gonna be a bit tough getting a picture of that one. Anyways, to the Palomino Highlands creature, we'll be giving a 3 out of 5 stars. This is mainly because the area itself is very isolated, and the attack speed of the Palomino makes it very dangerous. With that more minor yet still eerie creature out of the way, let's now cover one of the most famous myths in real life and in the GTA lore: atmospheric anomalies. While this may just sound like some random afterthought, trust me, it's leading to something pretty cool. So atmospheric anomalies are an interesting yet still unexplained phenomenon that occurs in the sky above Los Santos. These anomalies are anything spanning from the weird graphical issues in the sky to floating dots or weird jellyfish looking textures randomly floating around the sky. Now this myth is really similar to the atmospheric anomalies in GTA San Andreas, where very fast moving aircraft reminiscent of UFOs or spacecraft could be seen in the sky, as well as the falling black dots that could be seen floating around. In GTA 5 though, these atmospheric anomalies are a lot more tame and most likely just a product of the lighting and cloud systems that can be found in GTA 5 because they look oddly like broken lens flares or sun glares. These anomalies are also very rare and happen at random times and random places, so there's a possibility that we don't even have any footage of them. I'm gonna give this phenomenon like a 1-star wanted level because it just seems to be a visual effect with no other implications. And here's the lead up you were all waiting for. Since we're on the topic of things in the sky, let's move on to UFOs and aliens. UFOs and aliens are probably the most well-known and hotly debated topic and mystery in all of the GTA community. Ever since San Andreas, aliens have been a famous and very contentious topic, but all of these debates were put to rest when aliens were far more prominently featured in GTA 5. For example, in some of Michael's Strangers and Freaks missions, such as Grassroots, and in his hallucination after Jimmy gave him drugs. But these were all events happening in Michael's head. You know, it was just him hallucinating. The Strangers and Freak missions, for example Grassroots, was just Michael getting high on weed and again hallucinating. An alien invasion in this case. But the theme of aliens doesn't stop there. The highly secretive Fort Zancudo, which is essentially the game's stand-in for Area 55 or San Andreas' Area 69, has been speculated to contain aliens for a very long time. This is mainly due to Fort Zancudo's, secretive nature and the eerie wall art in the Mount Chiliad cable car station. But if references and speculation aren't enough for you, there are also real pieces of evidence in the game, the first of which I want to bring to your attention is an underwater egg that can be found in the ocean off the coast of the Sonar Collection docks. This egg appears to be hatched, and relates back to Mount Chiliad's wall painting. There's also another clue. In North Yankton, if you throw your car over a wall before a bridge where the train tracks are, like the great driver you are, and wander down to a very specific spot, you can find an alien frozen in the ice. This alien looks identical to Michael's depiction in the hallucinations and the costume used at the movie studio, which Franklin and Lamar drive through in the first mission. There's also a radio station led by Ron Jakowski, who is Trevor's conspiracy theorist friend and business partner. The radio station is called Blaine County Radio Community Hour, in which Ron discusses his theories in a podcast-like style, which lets viewers call in to argue their own conspiracy theories and add in. There are many examples of people obsessed with aliens and conspiracy theories in the world of GTA, most of which are in Blaine County. A good example of this, aside from Ron, is a house in Sandy Shores which has a massive welcome alien sign in front of it. The house serves serves as a general place for believers and conspiracy theorists to get together and discuss their findings and theorize on when the aliens may come down. Now, taking into account, aside from all of these alien conspiracy theories and small pointers here and there, we've actually got a pretty good case for aliens. I mean, if only there were some, like, UFOs or something that could really prove this. Oh yeah, I nearly forgot about those. There are a total of 4 UFOs on the map, and the reason why I'm only showing 3 and one of them looks like a rip-off Lego set is because not all of these are alien in origin. Let's start from the very beginning. So where is the 4th UFO? Way off the coast of Palomino Bay, there's a sunken and very ancient-looking classic flying saucer sitting in the water. This thing has been buried for a long time, which plays along with the conspiracy theory that aliens visited our planet a long time ago and may have left some crashed ships. But unlike real-life aliens, the GTA ones just can't seem to stay away. There's a small camp camped around a sculpture in the sandy shores called Beam Me Up, and after the player gets the 100% completion of the game, this UFO will just float there. If you attempt to get closer, it will fly away but won't attack. Oh, and wait, what's that? FIB. Wow, yeah, I forgot. Remember when I said that not all of them are actually alien in origin? Turns out none of those 3 are actually alien UFOs, but actually reverse-engineered UFOs built with technology found on board other sunken or crashed ships, presumably. Take a look at how different the sunken ship looks to any of these. The difference is, like, pretty massive. Everything from the shape to the locations where the coloring is, to the places where the light strips could be, it's all different. The theory right now goes that the FIB and military have reverse-engineered UFOs using crashed ships and are using them for reconnaissance or to promote conspiracy theories. I mean, we could guess for days, but we don't really know. Who's to say what they're for? The black-colored military UFO seems to be designed for either stealth reconnaissance or high-speed drone striking, due to its similar general design philosophy to the SR-71 Blackbird and B-2 bomber. So overall, I think to aliens, I'll be giving like a 2 out of 5 wanted stars because although it's cool that they're here, their technology has already been harnessed by the FIB and military, and they don't seem to pose much of a threat to the player as of now. On the other hand, it is pretty cool that there are aliens and all that stuff, and that mural. Yeah, I'm gonna bump that up to like a 3+ out of 5. Yep, you know what? Yeah, that's final. Now, we're gonna move on to a really different one. Not because it's in nature very different. I mean, it is, but mainly because it has very different proof. For example, with aliens, we had an overwhelming amount of proof. I mean, there's UFOs literally floating on the map. But with this one, there's not so much. So we have the Face of the Baphomet, an incredibly interesting and obscure occurrence that can be found in the middle of the Alamo Sea. Basically, as you might know, the Baphomet is a pagan deity that has been worshipped by the Templars and is associated with Satanism and the Illuminati. The Baphomet is most commonly depicted as having a humanoid body with a goat's head and large horns, kind of similar to the Goatman and the god Pan that we covered earlier. Now in GTA 5, if you go to a very specific spot in the Alamo Sea, and I mean really specific, you can find what looks like the Face of Baphomet being formed by the crashing waves creating sea foam. This is incredibly strange, and it leads me to wonder how this was even first discovered and why it's even here. To be completely honest, I didn't even know this existed until like 2 days ago. Some people are skeptical about this and chalk it up to being a coincidence, but in my opinion, this is a very clear image of Baphomet. Which would make sense because the Illuminati and New World Order is mentioned a lot in the GTA franchise. Before I give this the star rating, I've got to get into something that me and Melon did to actually test this. We flew out to the Alamo Sea, we circled that thing for like 15 minutes, we swam around, and we just couldn't get this to appear. We tried for so long, we kept thinking we saw it, but from the video that we saw of it, it was so mind-bogglingly clear. Like it was a clear image. It almost looked like you had just pasted something onto it. Our theory is that it used to exist, but now because of a change in graphics, potentially because that video was on old gen, you can't get that to happen anymore. In the background right now is some footage of us, like a fifth of the footage of us trying to get it. We spent like 30 to 40 minutes on this and it was hell. Anyway, we couldn't find it, so we're gonna give this a 4 out of 5 because this is really weird. Especially the fact that it was even found. Like, how the hell would you find that exact thing in that exact spot? That's weird. This is just such a weird one. I mean, like, the implications that this would have on the GTA universe are wacky, to put simply. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars for Baphomet, and now let's move on to the final cryptid, one of the most famous cryptids of all time, the Kraken. This infamous squid monster that is said to live in the depths of the ocean has been talked about for almost a millennia. in the real world, with the first documented mention of a massive squid creature being in 1180, in ancient Nordic folklore. Anyways, since then, a ton of other interpretations of the Kraken have appeared in basically every civilization, being mainly popularized during the Age of Exploration. This is because exploring the oceans and sailing in general had become a crucial part of civilization at the time. Now, the massive squid is said to be so huge that it could pick up large ships like man-o'-wars and brigs with just one tentacle and rip them to shreds, leading to them becoming some of the most feared creatures to ever, supposedly, exist. Now, in GTA 5, the Kraken is rumored to exist in the murky depths of the Pacific Ocean, more specifically below the 490-foot threshold, which, if you didn't know, is the temperature at which submarines get crushed in GTA 5. Now, as opposed to being destroyed by the pressure, there are some players that believe that it is destroyed by the Kraken, since, you know, it could be down there. Although there is absolutely no proof of this. Now, of course, bones can be found on the ocean floor, and some even believe that those could be the bones of the Kraken, but that probably wasn't the case as the squid doesn't have bones. Even the colossal squid. But if the Kraken were to exist, it would definitely be getting a 5-star wanted level, as a beast of this size and immense power is definitely insane. But that's all we've got for you today, so we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video if you liked it. We put a lot of time into this video, and we hope it shows. So that's all for today, and we hope to see you next time.